I'm Elizabeth at A Literary Princess, and today I am doing a currently reading video. So, this is my Victober currently reading, plus one spooky season book, because, excuse me, my cat is being a pain in the ass. Last week you got Pippin, now you have Butters. This is my other kitty. He's being a naughty bean and jumping on the table. Yeah, are you a naughty bean? I do with Mama. So anyway, as I was saying, this is my Victober currently reading with one spooky season read thrown in here that I am listening to on audiobook. So I have a total of 4 books to talk to you about today, and let's jump into them. First up, we have for Victober, one of my poetry picks. This is Aurora, Leigh and Other Poems by Elizabeth Barrett Browning. I am currently a third of the way through Aurora, Leigh itself. Oh, someone doesn't want to stay. Okay. Anyway, so Aurora, Leigh is a epic poem / novel in verse, and it takes up the majority of this book. So I am 1/3 of the way through it right now, and it is a Bildungsroman about a girl named Aurora Leigh becoming a writer. And I'm not in love with it as of right now. I really like the story itself. I'm like, why couldn't it have been a novel? Why did it have to be poetry? Like, the story itself is really interesting about Aurora rejecting a marriage proposal from her cousin Romney and then going out on her own to become a writer. It's really interesting. But the fact that it's in poetry is kind of giving me a hard time because I'm not a big poetry person. I usually do like Elizabeth Barrett Browning, and I'm finding her a lot easier than Robert Browning, and we will talk about him in my Victober wrap-up. But I'm still not loving it because I'm like, why couldn't it have just been a novel? And I would have been much happier. So I like the story. I don't like the mode, I guess. Next up is one that is both a Victober read and a spooky season read. This is Dracula by Bram Stoker. This is my second time reading Dracula. I read it a few years ago for a class on Victorian Gothic, but I was in a very poor place when I read it, emotionally, so I didn't really pay a whole lot of attention, and I gave it just 3 stars because that's usually what I do when I'm not paying a whole lot of attention to a book. So I'm rereading this for my exams, and also because everybody is having so much fun with Dracula Daily right now, and I'm jealous, and I want to have fun too, but I don't feel I can justify reading a book over such a long span of time as it would be with Dracula Daily, which is sending you a piece of the book on the day that it happens in the novel. So I'm currently a quarter of the way through this, about 100 pages, and I am loving it so much. I am reading this, I'm like, how did I give this 3 stars? I'm having such a great time right now. First of all, my poor friend Jonathan Harker. Poor thing. But that section, his journal while he's in Castle Dracula, is just so, like, we start out and he's talking about paprika and wanting to get recipes, and then it's like, goodbye, Mina, if I never see you again. Oh my God. It's a journey. It is a journey, okay? And so I have just finished the part about, I think it's the Demeter, the ship that sinks. Yes, it is the Demeter. And holy crap, the log from that's terrifying, okay? That's terrifying. This is great. I am, like, even though I know what's gonna happen, but it's terrifying. And also, all of these men in love with Lucy, I adore them. I'm having so much fun, and Mina is a darling, and I love her, and she's so smart, and she's gonna actually get shit done. It's just great, okay? It's just great. I am loving this so much right now. Anyway, so next up, I am reading The Beth Book by Sarah Grand on my Kindle, and I am also loving this one. So most of the books I am loving, luckily. So this is another Bildungsroman about another woman who becomes a writer, Beth Caldwell, who is born in Ireland and then moves to England with her family after her father's death, and ultimately gets married, is in a very unhappy marriage, and becomes a writer. So I am 3/4 of the way through right now, and I really, really like it a lot. I like Beth as a character. I am enjoying what Grand has to say about women as writers, about women's rights at the time, about the issues of marriage. I'm highlighting so many things. Like, this would probably be a 5-star read for me, except Beth's childhood literally takes up 50% of this book. And I feel like we could have trimmed some of that and made it a little bit shorter. This is like an over 500-page book. I think we just could have condensed it down a little bit more. And I was very surprised, like, that by the 50% mark, she hadn't even, like, gotten out of her teens yet. Like, I think she was still maybe 12 at that point. I was like, wow, this is taking a while. But I love Grand's writing. I love what she's saying. I just was like, okay, can we speed it up a little bit? It's probably going to be a 4.5-star read for me. I'm definitely going to be using it in my dissertation because it is talking about so many of the things that I am interested in talking about, especially the women at making her way as a writer and coming up against the prejudices of the publishing world and even just society in general. Like, her husband is always kind of disparaging her writing. So I am loving this. I just wish it were a little bit more compact. And then for my non-Victober read that I have on audiobook, this is the Southern Book Club's Guide to Slaying Vampires by Grady Hendrix. So I finished My Best Friend's Exorcism earlier this month, and I really enjoyed it and naturally wanted to read everything else by Grady Hendrix. And this had the shortest wait and sounded the most interesting to me. And it really works that I'm reading Dracula at the same time because Hendrix is using Dracula in here quite clearly in a very similar way that Salem's Lot by Stephen King does, and Salem's Lot is actually mentioned in here as well. Now I'm like, now I want to read Salem's Lot, so I'm reading all 3 of these vampire books at the same time and comparing different things. But that is a terrible idea, and I do not need to be reading Salem's Lot right now. But this focuses on Patricia Campbell, who is a, I guess she's like in her late 30s. She's a mother in the 90s, living in Charleston, South Carolina, I believe. And she has a book club with a few women in her neighborhood where they read true crime novels. And then this mysterious, handsome man comes to town, and he's kind of everything that these novels are warning them about, like the wandering man with no background and no connections, and he just kind of shows up, and he's very charismatic. And so I am 30%-ish in, and I was expecting it to take a lot more time to get to some of like the scarier stuff, because that's how it was with My Best Friend's Exorcism. But I am in the middle of a really intense scene right now, okay? My husband and I were listening to it in the car the other day at night, and I was just like, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God, freaking out. So I am really enjoying this. I can't wait to see what happens. I'm so excited to make more connections between this and Dracula. I'm just having a great time. So those are the books I am currently reading. Let me know down in the comments below. Have you read any of these? What did you think? What are you currently reading? It has been great chatting with you. I will see you soon. Bye.